The hum of the engines was steady, almost soothing, as the private jet cut through the clouds. The CEO sat reclined in his leather seat, flipping through digital reports on his tablet, while his daughter leaned against the window, tracing shapes in the endless sky with her finger. It should have been just another flight, one of countless in his relentless schedule, but this one carried a different weight. A critical meeting awaited, and failure was not an option. Up front, the pilot adjusted the controls with practiced ease, the soft glow of the dashboard lights reflecting off his calm face. Then, without warning, his hand slipped from the yoke. A faint gasp escaped his lips before his body crumpled forward. Alarms blared to life. The jet jolted, tilting slightly, the sky outside swaying. Oxygen masks dropped with a hiss. The girl clutched at her father's sleeve, her small voice sharp with panic. "Daddy, who's going to fly now?" The CEO's heart thundered in his chest. He bolted from his seat, staring helplessly at the cockpit where the unconscious pilot lay. He had built empires, negotiated billion-dollar deals, but here, 11 kilometers above the ground, he was utterly powerless. Then, from the far corner of the cabin, there was movement. A figure unbuckled quietly, as if the chaos was nothing more than background noise. A woman, dressed simply in dark clothes, her cap pulled low and her jacket zipped tight. She had been there the whole flight, so unremarkable she seemed invisible, until now. The CEO spun toward her. "Who are you?" She didn't respond. Her steps were calm, deliberate, as she passed him and slid into the pilot's chair. Her fingers flew over the controls, correcting the tilt of the plane with swift, confident motions. The alarms silenced one by one, replaced by the steadier hum of balance restored. Then the radio crackled to life. The woman pressed the transmitter, her voice smooth and steady, carrying a weight that silenced even the storm in the CEO's chest. "Control, this is call sign Valkyrie," she said. "I am taking command." The cabin went still. The CEO's daughter gasped. The man stared at the stranger now seated at the helm of his plane, realization dawning that whoever she was not ordinary. And the world above the clouds suddenly felt far less safe, and far more extraordinary. The jet leveled out, gliding with the kind of precision that only came from countless hours in the sky. The CEO could feel the press of adrenaline still burning in his veins, but the alarms were gone, the tilt corrected, the cabin quiet except for the steady drone of the engines. His daughter's wide eyes followed every move the mysterious woman made, her small hands clinging to the armrest as if letting go would send the plane spiraling again. The radio sputtered, ground control finally responding after a long, stunned silence. The voice on the other end trembled, caught between disbelief and recognition. Valkyrie, do you copy? This can't be, you're supposed to be gone." The woman adjusted the throttle with an almost casual precision, her face unreadable under the shadow of her cap. She pressed the transmitter again, her voice even, unshaken. "Copy. Situation contained. Preparing for descent." The CEO stared at her, the name echoing in his mind. Valkyrie, a word he had heard whispered in half-finished rumors during security briefings, the kind no one dared to put in writing. A ghost pilot, a weapon of the state, a legend buried under redacted reports. He finally found his voice, low and tense. "Who are you really?" She didn't look at him, her eyes fixed on the horizon. For a long beat, the only answer was the hum of the engines. Then she spoke, not loudly, but with the kind of clarity that could cut through steel. "I was supposed to stay hidden." The little girl leaned forward in her seat, her fear melting into awe. "Daddy," she whispered, "she's like a superhero." For the first time, the woman turned her head. The light caught a thin scar that traced along her jaw, a mark that spoke of battles survived but never spoken of. Her eyes, cold and sharp, yet carrying a depth of grief, met theirs. "Superheroes don't exist," she said softly. "Only survivors." The CEO felt the ground shift beneath him, not from turbulence, but from the realization that his daughter was right. Whoever she was something extraordinary, something dangerous. And somehow, she was on his plane. The radio buzzed again, urgent voices demanding answers, but the woman ignored them. She tightened her grip on the controls, her call sign hanging in the air like a secret that refused to stay buried. The truth, it seemed, was no longer content to remain in the shadows. The wheels kissed the runway with a jolt, rubber burning against asphalt as the jet roared into a controlled landing. The engines wound down, but the air inside the cabin was charged, humming with the kind of energy that comes when a secret has been forced into daylight. Through the windows, flashing lights painted the tarmac, emergency vehicles, security convoys, and the inevitable swarm of media, already circling like hawks who had caught the scent of a story too big to ignore. The woman powered down the controls with a calm precision, her hands steady, her expression unreadable. Then she stood, pulling her cap lower as though she could fold herself back into anonymity. But the moment the cabin door opened, anonymity vanished. Cameras erupted in bursts of light. Shouts filled the air, questions hurled like stones. Who is she? Where did she come from? What's her connection to the CEO? The CEO stepped forward, shielding his daughter with one arm while trying to block the chaos with the other. He turned, searching for the woman who had just saved their lives, but she was already moving toward the stairs, her stride swift, determined to disappear before the world could claim her. Wait, the girl called out, her small voice somehow cutting through the storm. The woman froze. Slowly, almost unwillingly, she turned back. The child slipped past her father's arm and crossed the space between them. She looked up at the stranger with eyes full of something pure, something untainted by fear or politics. Don't hide again, she said softly, her hand reaching out. Can you stay forever? The words landed heavier than any reporter's question, heavier than the weight of her call sign echoing across the airwaves. The woman's jaw tightened, her gaze flickering between the girl's hope and the crowd's ravenous curiosity. For years she had lived in shadows, bound by duty, erased from existence by the very people who once called her a weapon. Forever had never been an option. And yet, here was this child, tugging at her hand as if she were something more than a ghost, as if she were worth keeping. Slowly, the woman's lips curved into the smallest of smiles, fragile yet defiant, the kind of smile that whispered of impossible new beginnings. Behind them, cameras clicked furiously, but the moment belonged only to the three of them. Sometimes, forever began in the unlikeliest places.